Picture the scariest nun you've ever seen. Pale skin, black sunken eyes, standing perfectly still in a dark hallway, saying nothing. Millions of people around the world now picture exactly that image when they hear the name Valak. Here's the twist. That nun? Completely made up. Invented for a movie. But Valak himself? He's real. Or at least real in the sense that people have been writing about him for over 300 years, long before anyone ever put him in a habit. So let's actually find out who he was before Hollywood got involved. Forget the movies for a second. Valak's story doesn't start in a film studio. It starts in a dusty old book called The Lesser Key of Solomon. Think of it like an ancient instruction manual for summoning spirits, written in the 1600s, but pulling together even older ideas from centuries before that. Inside this book is a list, 72 demons, ranked, numbered. Each one with their own specific powers, almost like a very strange, very old employee directory of hell. Valak is number 62. And here's what might surprise you. In the original writings, Valak doesn't look anything like a nun. He's described as appearing as a child, sometimes with wings, sometimes riding a two-headed dragon, using the appearance of innocence to lead people astray. That's it. A child. Not remotely what you're picturing right now. Some old writers even tried pinning two real historical tragedies on him. The Children's Crusades, where thousands of young people were tricked into slavery under the promise of a holy journey, and the old tale of the Pied Piper, where an entire town's children mysteriously disappeared. Neither connection actually holds up historically, but that's how old folklore works. When something terrible happens and nobody has a good explanation, people reach for a name. And Valak's name was sitting right there in the books, waiting to be blamed. For centuries, that was basically it. One modest entry, rarely talked about, rarely feared by name. Until 2016. That's when a horror sequel introduced Valak to millions of people for the very first time, and gave him a completely new look. A demonic nun. Here's the part almost nobody knows. That image wasn't pulled from any ancient text. It came from something much more personal. The director has said the idea actually traces back to a real account from Lorraine Warren, the paranormal investigator whose life inspired the whole franchise, who once described having a private vision of a hooded, shadowy figure twisting like a shape in a storm. The filmmakers took that account and turned it into a nun. Specifically a nun because one of the main characters in the story was devoutly Catholic, so putting a demon inside the very symbol meant to protect her made the whole thing hit harder. It's genuinely clever storytelling. It is not, however, an old legend. It was built, on purpose, from scratch, for a movie screen. A later film went even further, inventing an entire backstory for the nun version. A monastery in Romania, a ritual gone wrong, a demon set loose by war. None of that exists in any historical record either. It's original fiction, stitched onto the name of a demon that's actually 300 years old. So here's the real question. Why did an obscure demon from a dusty old grimoire suddenly become one of the most recognizable horror icons on the planet? Honestly, a few reasons, and they're pretty simple once you break them down. First, the visual itself is just more disturbing. A demon disguised as a nun is instantly unsettling because it's sacred and corrupted at the very same time. Compare that to a spirit that looks like a child, which honestly sounds like a fairy tale, not a horror movie poster. Second, the franchise built its whole identity on blurring fact and fiction. marketing everything as based on true events, mixing real documented cases with heavily dramatized additions, until audiences genuinely can't tell where the true story ends and the movie invention begins. And third, simple math. Millions of people watched these films. Maybe a few thousand people in the entire world had ever actually read that original 1600s text. Today, if you search Valak's name, the nun shows up almost instantly. The two-headed dragon, the child, the 300-year-old book he actually came from, all still there, just buried a few pages deeper, waiting for anyone curious enough to keep scrolling. So what is Valak, really? An old, half-forgotten name from a demon summoning manual written centuries ago? Or the version everyone actually knows? The one built specifically to terrify a modern audience? Here's the uncomfortable truth. The image most of the world is actually afraid of was never really his to begin with. It was built for a screen. Decades after his name was first written down in ink that's now 300 years old. Sometimes the scariest version of a story isn't even the real one. It's just the one that reached the most people. If you want more real history hiding behind the world's most famous horror icons, subscribe, because this is only the beginning.